am better than ever. And I know right now that I'm going somewhere and I need some cheddar. Oh, baby, better.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Andre Luck here with my next episode of the Sports Sales Show, where I'm going to go into the next episode of my series around AI for sports sales use and how to generate and drive revenue from it. So, in this episode today, we'll talk about the B2B prospecting process. So, prospecting, researching, looking up companies. This is the most asked about question when we talk about AI in our training workshops. I'm like, how do I find better leads? And I want to learn to use AI so I could prospect and research companies better. So I think it's a very relevant topic, very timely, because a lot of people are using kind of ad hoc use cases. Just say something like, hey, give me some companies or give me some companies in this market, in this industry. But we'll talk through and show a couple of examples of how to do that the right way and what that looks like and how you can use it more effectively so you can book more meetings and then ultimately close more deals, and on the back end show you if you needed to build your own agent to do this, what that could potentially look like. So yeah, we'll jump in now. So the first thing I like to do with any AI conversation or when I do any of these trainings and workshops, I want to make sure people understand like what good looks like from a B2B prospecting standpoint. Because if we just show you AI, but there's chaos, there's no system, structure, or process behind it, like you're just going to speed up those bad systems and bad processes. So what we'll talk about first is like what does good look like if you're a B2B sales rep, and we'll focus it more towards sports because I know that's a lot of the audience here. So first thing you want to do is identify your ideal customer profile. So who is it that is the best fit customer to go after? And for me, when I was selling 15 plus years ago, even more recently, it was like maybe 5 6 years ago, it was more just like, hey, give me a list of companies in a certain industry in my market or in my city. So I'd use a tool like ZoomInfo or Apollo or something like that and just research companies and just randomly hit them, and like eventually you'd come across some gold. Like prospecting, you eventually find gold within the hills and within those people that you're going after. So, out of 100 plus leads, maybe, one or two are good, but you want to really hone in on like who's the best fit for you. And to do that, you want to look at your current customers. And a lot of teams that I talk to and a lot of reps I talk to, like we don't know necessarily that data. So talk to your service team, talk to your directors, your managers. A lot of people are starting to either compile these lists in like their CRM, or they're having like a separate sheet where like, hey, here's all of our B2B customers. Here's the industry they're in. Here's how they use tickets and the products that they buy. So you could take that and at least start to, you could probably take, if you have like that spreadsheet, like here are some of the common characteristics, dump that in the AI, and it could tell you, hey, here's the best fit type of customer for you to go after. Here's who's your ideal customer, people that already buy from you. Because you want to go find other people that look like that, because there's obviously a reason those type of companies bought, whether it's the industry or the type of business, the type of consumer that they have, or through their sales process or how they run their go-to-market strategy. There's something in there, and AI could help you sift through and figure out what those commonalities are. The other thing that helps with that is that when you're having these conversations, you can go back and share some real testimonials and anecdotes. It's not just randomly work with companies, but we work with other HVAC companies here in the Miami area. We work with other startup tech companies in Fort Lauderdale or in Phoenix, Arizona, wherever it is that you live. So going after your ideal customer, knowing what that looks like, going to help you when you go into AI and try and find companies, because then you can be very specific and very detailed about here is exactly what I'm looking for. So the thing that I'll continue to talk about through this entire series is the context that you give it. We talk a lot about garbage in, garbage out. If you give it a bad prompt, you're going to get a bad output back. But the more detail you could be like, here's what I do. I'm an account executive for this team in this market. Here's the type of companies to go after because of XYZ. That's going to give you the right type of companies, or at least the best fit companies to go after. So when you're doing that, so you want to understand who your ideal customer is, what are their current use cases, and know exactly who it is that you're looking for. When I work with these companies, it's typically this persona within the company. I'm usually working with the head of sales or a head of marketing or a head of HR, or I'm working with a C-level executive. Like give it all that information, like as much data as possible on the front end. You can tweak and adjust based on the outputs that you're getting, but like that's the first step, is like getting to a point where you have a really good understanding from a prospecting standpoint of who it is you're going after, what's your sales process, what's the goal when you do outreach. Are you trying to book a meeting, or you're trying to close a deal? Ideally, I think for most people B2B, you're trying to just book that first discovery call so you can get to the next step and include other stakeholders who need involved in that second or third meeting. But that's the first step. You got to know who it is that you're going after and why you're looking to go after them. So with what we're seeing with people that are using AI, reps that are using AI, they're booking 10% more meetings in the first month just by using AI. You're getting more detailed prospecting. You're getting a better list of people, more in-depth research that you can do more quickly so that you can sound more relevant and sharp when you're having conversations. So, with AI, you can identify very quickly a company's like top 3 priorities in their business. So we talk a lot about not just goals that the business probably has or just generic terms, but like what are the current priorities in their business. And for you to do that, you'd have to do a lot of research, and we'll show like the differences between like an AI agent that already does this, an AI prompt that does this, versus just kind of Google manual research that maybe we've done in the past. So identifying what a company's top 3 priorities is really going to help you hone your messaging. And when you start to build out your game plan and the discovery phase, questions that you're going to ask and everything like that, put you in a much better space to do that. Another concept that we talk about is called the triangle. I've shared this before in other episodes, but um, when you can identify the trends of a company based on their sub industry and the person that you're going after, it kind of makes this triangle of trends, sub industry, persona. So let's say that I'm going after the sub industry of commercial roofing and I'm talking to the president of commercial roofing. That's who I go after in the Fort Lauderdale, Miami market. And then I want to articulate, all right, how does my product that I sell help them with those sub industry trends for the person that I'm going after? So a little bit to tie the dots there. So for you to sound super relevant and sound knowledgeable, so it hits home with that person specifically versus just general, hey, we work with business people, AI is going to help you kind of tie all that together. So doing that, that's a big bonus. The messaging that you're going to go with. So helping kind of articulate all that and put it into email copy, put it into a phone call talk track that you could have. So when you have this conversation with someone, you could sound at least somewhat knowledgeable or even like an industry expert. You may have never even heard of the industry or heard of the company, but have a very intelligent conversation because AI could pull it all together. Now you still have to go execute that and make sure it sounds like you versus just like generic AI language, but that gets you 80-90% of the way there very quickly. And now you just do that extra kind of be the last mile and take it over the top. And then the other one that's like super important or like probably the starting point for most people when it comes to using AI for prospecting is finding the right type of lookalike lead. So we talked about knowing your ideal customer. If you know that, then it could give you 5, 10, 15 other companies that look just like that. Where before I would just go through like a book of lists and be like, all right, here's the top 20 software development companies within Phoenix. And I would just call them because I had phone numbers and contact information of a president. Very much as I look back, I'm super humbled of like how I went about that process, knowing what's possible now and like the damage I could have done back then. But, obviously at the time that was what we had to work with. But now new reps can come in and get up to speed very quickly. And if they lean into this, the senior reps who've been doing this for a while and know what good looks like can really leverage this and take it to the top. That's what I've seen in a lot of the workshops I've done. Like it's great for newer reps to gain confidence, but the people that are really getting the most out of this are those top reps, long-term B2B sellers, premium sellers who are like, wow, like I know I did all this work manually and now I have something that could really be a catalyst and one person said a force multiplier for the way they go about their business recently. So those are the different use cases. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to share my screen here and talk through, the manual process you're going through if you're not using AI, how you can potentially use AI with prompts, and then if you have agents and assistants that are built and designed with the information that you need, what that could look like, and just the differences in each of those approaches. So, all right, let me share my screen here. All right, so what I have here is Journey AI. So we'll be using this a lot throughout the series. This is my go-to tool for B2B prospecting. So got different agents, assistants already pre-built for B2B sales around prospecting, different agents you could click on and do for research, closing sales. So, Chat GPT, Google Gemini, some of those others are great for just kind of general information, but this really hones in and lets you be super specific. You could pre-program it with the playbooks and everything you need. You can create your own assistants off of this. Where we'll start first is for lookalike companies. So I said that's something that's super important, that if you're going to be a VB salesperson, how do I find other companies that are similar to the ones that I work with? Um, so what I'll do is, one of my clients is Fort Lauderdale United, and the company that sponsors the stadium is Beyond Bankguard. So it's Beyond Bankguard Field. So let's see here. So if I were to find lookalike companies, I would say something like, help me find similar companies to Beyond Bankguard. All right. So if I'm doing this manually, this is what I did back in the day. I would see some sponsored stuff here. So maybe like a competitor, if I like they think I'm trying to buy something. So not really helpful. Well, maybe helpful. They're trying to get in front of me. So obviously they're a competitor to Beyond Bankguard. So that could be someone I could target. The good thing too is you're going to do some manual research. At least there's this like AI overview in Google now. So it kind of helps. So you got Square, Stripe, PayPal, Adyen, it looks like, and Helsum. So at least you got a couple companies you could go after. But then I'll have to click in through all these, do some research, try and go to their LinkedIn page and figure out what they do, click on their websites, everything like that. That could be to find a good company and contact and like something to talk about, a good hour for each of these, conservatively, to have a thoughtful outreach. What you could do with a prompt, which is a little faster, actually a lot faster, but not quite where we eventually want to be in the future, is this is a prompt sheet we give teams that we work with, all different types of prompts. So you can see for multi-threading, strategic mapping, account strategy. So when we do our workshops, we have them copy and paste these into their AI tool that they use at their company, and it at least gives them a starting point, because a lot of people are using it as kind of ad hoc use cases and just random, help me find some companies like this research that I did, or this prompt I did, help me find similar companies to Beyond Bankguard. And so what I would do is, copy and paste this. It tells it, so context again, telling exactly what it is, what I do, the team that I work for, here's what I need, here's what I need you to do, and like the output that I'm looking for, and end with a short summary. So that'll give you something a little better um, than going through all this. But if you have an assistant built, so here in Journey AI, these are pre-built. So this is the ICP lookalike leads one. So what I'll do here is Beyond Bankguard, beyondbankguard.com. All right. So take some time. It's doing some thinking, and this works off ChatGPT's newest model 5.2, which is great. So you're getting a lot of the same input, but not just the generic. You're getting stuff that's like programmed for B2B sales based on our best practices when it comes to selling. All right, what do you currently sell to this company? They are the naming rights partner for our stadium with Fort Lauderdale United. So we sell them sponsorships. All right, so that's answer number one. Number two, is there a trait you want me to focus on? Yeah, let's do industry, company size, target buyer, because obviously by sponsorships or marketing to get in front of your consumers, go to market motion. Let's do like emerging brands too. So, and supports DEI/women initiatives, since it's a women's soccer team. Initiatives. And also a big part of Fort Lauderdale United is the Youth Academy, supports youth initiatives. All right. So instead of here, where it's, this is pretty good. It's like, give me similar industries, um, best people to target. Like, this is way better than just the random Google search. Um, but here I can get a lot more specific on what exactly is I'm looking for. And so we'll see the output that it gives us here. All right. So we got website. This is what we sell them. So it's kind of giving me just a recap, like, hey, before we move forward, just want to make sure this is exactly what it is you're looking for. Reply confirmed if above is accurate. And then it'll start finding lookalike companies. say, see go-to-market motion, emerging brand signals, DEI initiatives, youth sports. So it's starting to do its research, and it's running all these different queries in parallel, which is cool to see. It's doing all the research there and kind of what it's looking for to get there. Because imagine like if this is the type of research I would have to do manually to get an output like this. No one's doing that, so you're not gonna you're not gonna get in-depth research. So that's why having an agent that's powerful like this is going to be huge. So all right, here's a clean lookalike profile. Okay, so just kind of getting recapping everything. All right, quick check before I find the lookalike leads. Does this profile feel right? Especially the emphasis on mid-market payments, channel partner, go-to-market motion, activation first, sponsorship logic. So just kind of a more in-depth of those highlights it talked about. So I'm going to reply yes. And it says I'll move on producing a ranked list of 5 to 7 lookalike companies. All right, so you see here now it did some thinking, did its research, and now we have lookalike companies based on everything. So looked up this company size on LinkedIn, the right factors. So I got 6 different companies here. A fit ranked 1 to 5, why it's a fit. And so I could do a deeper dive into each of these companies based on why they think it's a fit. I have their company's website, some sources that call out, specifically why they'd be a good fit. So like this one, partnership announcement with West Virginia Athletics. Shift 4, do a lot of stuff within different companies across sports, which I've come across. So I obviously got to do a deeper dive. This isn't enough to help me sell, but at least gives me a starting point where before, I was at just random companies that Google gave me that are similar to Beyond Bankcard, better than nothing. And this would have done something similar, just done it faster with a little more research. But this telling exactly what it looks like, finding the right fit, patterns across these of what I need to look for. And then I could go deeper back into Journey and look at, I did the lookalike leads, and I could do company deep research on a company, do a quick call prep, do outbound meeting prep. If there's an annual report summarizer, I could do that. So this is just the power of having like good agents and things that are built for you for B2B sales to be more thorough and be way more relevant when you do your outreach. So, that's really the goal of having tools like this. So I'll stop sharing here. But yeah, like when you're looking to kind of start your research, you want to find the right companies, and just what we walked through there very quickly is going to separate you from tons of reps that are out there. And if you wanted to build your own agent, you can kind of go back and forth with ChatGPT and help it build an agent. And I think that's intimidating for people. I actually got a message from someone on LinkedIn who said thanks for some of the content, because I actually started playing around with their own agents. But one thing I do is going into whatever AI tool you use and saying, hey, I'm looking to build an agent. Here's the output that I want it to give me when I have this agent, so that I can quickly do it versus the manual prompting like what we talked about. And I'll say, hey, ask me 10 questions to help me build the instructions and the knowledge doc around it. And then at least gives me a starting point. I can go back and forth and play with it. Like that is the next step that all of us could be doing. Pick one use case. If it is like this one that a lot of people talk about, like, hey, finding similar type leads or lookalike leads, you could build a lookalike lead agent and plug in certain characteristics of the type of companies that you go after and everything like that, and really speed up the journey. And then journey, no pun intended, you could build assistants too based on that, and it's very easy to walk through and build those out. So really, like, my biggest takeaway from this session we walked through, and just every episode I do different takeaways. I was in Nashville this past week, I was in Denver this past week, so working with the Titans and Denver Summit FC. And I shared with both of them, like, if you can lean into this now, you're going to run circles around your peers and just other reps in the industry who maybe are starting to scratch the surface or are still a little skeptic. Because in each group, there's a few, they're like, yeah, I'm a little skeptic of AI, or I don't believe in it, or whatever it is. Like 2 years from now, like, everyone's going to be using this personal life. Their professional life, have assistants, have agents. So imagine you started today and where you'll be 2 years from now when people are just starting to look up and be like, oh, okay, like this is something I should be doing. And for anyone that knows me, like I don't get on the hype train of a lot of stuff. Like if I'm going to share, like this is something to get behind and get excited about, like I really believe in it. Like I don't over promote anything. But this is one where very quickly, even when the first model of ChatGPT came out a couple of years ago, I was like, oh wow, like this can really change the way we go about it. So continuing to just learn and dive into this and play around with it. And even like in the workshops I do, I learn something new from other people who are using it in different ways. But this is the first step, this first use case, prospecting, doing research, finding leads that you can go after way more effectively and efficiently than the current process that we go through now, which is pretty manual and just pretty random of the leads that we're going after. So that's my takeaway for this week. Shout out before I wrap up. So in Denver, my grandpa, he lives in Aurora, my grandpa Rufus. So I got a chance to spend time with him and got to see him. What I didn't know is he's a fan of the show. So hopefully he's tuning in and watching this. So he pulled up the YouTube, talks into his thing and into his remote control and pulls up my name, and you see my YouTube page, and he's like, I actually bought a new big screen TV and it's sitting there on the ground. Like, so I can hang up so I can watch your videos. So, but also shout out to him, one, for watching and tuning in, but two, being very on top of AI at 81 years old, I think he is. There's people in their 20s, 30s who could be using this, and I'm learning from him in his 80s of like all the things that you could do with it. And he talked a lot about like robots are coming out, went down a long path. So it was a really cool conversation. Obviously, great to catch up and connect, and that my work allowed me to go out there and see him. So shout out there. Appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully you take something away from this episode. But in closing, yeah, around the prospecting process, know the basics, fundamentals first. You have to have a good understanding of your customer. You have to have a good system and process and workflow. That's one thing we're really working on right now is like, what is that workflow for using AI? Like from like we went through lookalike leads, and so now I have some leads. Who am I going after? How do I use AI to find that? What message do I go after? Okay, once I book the meeting, so you need to have that structure so you're not just all over the place. And it may be a little chaotic at first, but once you do it enough and you get some repetition, you're going to see a ton of success with it. So if this was enjoyable for you, you liked it, click like on the page. If there's someone in your network that could see this, which I think most people that you work with, you drop some of this in like your Slack channels or share it with somebody on LinkedIn. Like there's a ton of value from this, and just whether it's like actual use cases like this, or this just starts to spark ideas for other people that are looking to get more into AI. I think this is beneficial. And also subscribe. So we'll go through the next step of the process, which we talked about prospecting today, and we'll get into actually like closing sales. Like once you get the meeting booked and you're in the deal process, how do you use tools like Journey and AI to help you with that? But as I tell my daughters every morning when I drop them off for school, go be awesome today, and I'll be back next week with another video.
That's nothing. I'ma be doing this and I'm gonna be head hunting. Oh baby, don't know. Oh baby, don't go. Oh baby, don't know. Oh baby, don't go.